The thing is a process, and we've all got to work on it. And it's like, you can either make the journey easy or difficult for yourself. And generally, it's only the process of a single thought that can alter all of that as to whether you do make it difficult, or you can always find the positive. It's like the story of the guy with, I've got, sore legs or sore feet or, something like that. And then someone goes past in a wheelchair that doesn't have any.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning back in. And look, the stories I share with you touch on sensitive topics that may be triggering. So don't forget, if you or someone you know of is in need of support, then please call Lifeline on 13 11 14. That number again is 13 11 14. Hey look guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share, as it helps this channel to continue to grow, and I can continue to reach out to unsung heroes or individuals that make a huge impact, not only in their own lives, but in those that resonate with them. And so without further ado, let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome back again to another brand new episode of The Roundtable. Today I am back again in lovely Harvey Bay, and I'm so honored to be joined by Trevor Hanratty, who we'll get to learn more about with his involvement in a particular men's group. Please stick around, as I'd love for you all to hear what he shares with us later on today. But before we kick off, as always, the Roundtable symbolizes a safe space where stories are shared, voices heard, and lessons learnt. So, pull up a seat, grab your favorite coffee, maybe a glass of water, or even a glass of juice, and join me on this journey, because every story shared here matters. Trevor, welcome to the Roundtable.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, look, I'm honoured for you to take the time to come and join me and share a little bit about what you do, because honestly, at a last minute notice for you to answer the call of accepting this invitation, I'm truly, truly honoured. So thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure.
Before we kind of dive into it all, why do you think people should stick around and hear what you have to talk about today?
Oh, I guess basically just the general honesty. Life deals things differently to every individual. It's not black and white. I think realistically, if there's someone out there that can sort of, tune into what I'm saying in respect to what I've done or how I feel, and they maybe, can sort of associate with that, then, sometimes it's the case of, feeling a particular way and thinking that you're the only person that does that, but, to express it, you soon find that based on the audience participation, they can actually sort of, relate. And, I think that's the crux of it, realistically.
And what does that really entail?
Well, just being honest and open on the basis of how you feel in respect to different sort of aspects of your life, different effects of your life, how things affect you, what your processes and goals are, what you feel is the best way, respectful of interaction, like with groups and just individuals in just your general life.
Mm.
It's not, it's not like beer and Skittles. The thing is a process, and we've all got to work on it. And it's like, you can either make the journey easy or difficult for yourself. And generally, it's only the process of a single thought that can alter all of that as to whether you do make it difficult or you find, that you've approached it in a way that you can then accept and carry on with.
And this is all based around our mental well-being.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing is, some people go through catastrophic sort of situations in their life that you wouldn't wish on anyone. And then there's other people that just cruise along who don't have any sort of concept of that. But having experienced something in particular and then finding that someone else has experienced the same thing, you can then relate. And in respect to that, depending on how your experience went, you can quite often offer, your, well, not so much opinion, but you help in respect to actually having them accept what's happened, or just move on from what's happened, or manage it, keep a open mind, and not sort of, think a lot about things in the wrong way, You can always find the positive. It's like the story of the guy with, I've got, sore legs or sore feet or, something like that. And then someone goes past in a wheelchair that doesn't have any, So, that's just an analogy. So, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so Trevor, who are you, just for our listeners and viewers, and can you just kind of tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm originally from New South Wales. I was born in country New South Wales. I grew up in a large Catholic family. My father was a school teacher. My mother was a homebody from a farming background. Strong woman. Father was, pretty well educated. Was principal of a school, and I guess realistically, genetically, we were lucky to sort of grow up in that environment based on the fact that there was a good work ethic. There was, we didn't struggle sort of academically. I mean, there was no, problems respectful of that. And went on, left school, went private school, left school, did my apprenticeship in automotive mechanics, and then from that I went on and finished in fitting machining. My mother's side of the family in the agricultural background drew me to, I actually then went and did horticulture. I got right out of the engineering side of things. And I went and did horticulture, which I really loved, like an advanced certificate of urban horticulture. It was a sort of design. I had a landscape business. Unfortunately, after 4 years of marriage, we were fortunate enough to welcome our first child into the world. And sadly, she passed away, 22 months old. That was very difficult, extremely difficult. Anyway, after a space in time, we welcomed 2 more, children into the world, both happy, healthy, daughter and son, pigeon pair. But I guess as time went by, the things that affected me, respectful of my mental health, led to, the disintegration of the marriage, and eventually divorced, and I mean I went my way, and my partner stayed, and the children stayed with her, and then from there I moved up here. I went back into engineering work, not so to speak, but working in the coal mines. So basically worked hard, built myself back up again from the processes that sort of, led me to that point of necessity. And I've since, I'm single now. I've got to build a house here in Hervey Bay. I interact with different groups. I cycle. I like, I've got involved with the men's walk and talk only through an invitation. It wasn't for any specific purpose. I wasn't feeling that I needed, to express anything. I suppose realistically, up until, like a decade ago, I sort of considered myself to be a bit of an island. If I had a problem, I sorted it out myself. I'm not the sort of person that goes and, I know this sounds, not to cry on someone's shoulder, you know.
Mm.
I've had quite a lot of conversations with people that I've sort of walked away and thought, oh yeah, I haven't thought about it like that before, you know. And that's where this the process of sort of analysing things on a positive note.
Was that through the actual men's walk and talk group, or was it?
Yeah. Like realistically, what the thing was is you come in contact with people who really do need to talk about stuff. They've gone through processes in their life that have taken them by surprise, and in respect of their sort of mental well-being, it's been quite catastrophic. And some people just get to the point in their life where they just don't know what to do, where to go, what to say. You know, how do they conduct themselves after experiencing something like that? Do they do it through anger? Do they do it just ignore it? You know, what process do you follow that most suits how you should react in a situation when you're confronted by something that affects your mental health? And you know, I had a job. I'm not working at the moment. I'm just living the dream, which is nice. But I did have a job, and I worked closely with a guy, and you know, sadly he took his own life. You know, but up to the point, it was a total and absolute shock because I had no idea. And having said that, I felt a little bit of guilt on the basis of the fact that through the men's walk and talk group, I'd been actually able to do a mental health first aid course, and sadly, this fellow showed no signs whatsoever. I wouldn't have known, and I got to work one day and I was told of the news, and it was an absolute shock. And this, I think, respectful of how people are and what's affecting them. Men particularly, because we tend, and I mean, I've been in the same situation myself where I've sort of bottled something up, you know, haven't gone and openly expressed it to someone, had to work through it myself, and felt a sort of sense of weakness, thinking that I might have to talk to someone about it. But this is what we've got to overcome. We've got to stop doing that, you know. And if that guy had even just had for a moment, for an hour, just had expressed the situation he was feeling, then maybe I could have helped, you know. But we don't know what's around the corner. Realistically, my philosophy is the way that I conduct my life. Realistically, you know, determines what is going to be around the corner. You know, you can almost manage it on the basis of knowing, you know, what's ahead, looking forward to, you know, a life that's satisfying and, you know, constructive. It's not. That's basically where I'm coming from.
Right. And look, since you were invited to attend the men's walk and talk group, did that kind of then help you to decide whether to like stick this out and see where this leads up to, and then, or was it something that you felt like, wow, finally there's something here that resonates where I can actually kind of get a better understanding of how this all works? And
it was through a cycling friend that I got invited, and I went along because, I mean, for me, and my initial thought was just fitness, you know, kind of walking and keeping active, but then it was sort of like a bit of an epiphany. I just got a sense of awareness, you know, on the basis of the group when I started was relatively small. I mean, I think when I first met you, it's
There was still quite a
it's
few.
grown, exponentially.
Mm.
Anyway, yeah, there was a few guys. There's one guy there, and he came along, and he'd experienced like the loss of a child, and I I'm not the sort of person that goes and asks. I'll just say, oh yeah, like you might say, oh yeah, okay, how you feeling?
Yeah.
You all right? You're good. But not to delve into the actual sort of intricacies of what may be bothering them. And but all I knew was that he'd experienced something that I'd experienced, and through how it had affected me, I felt that there was an association because I had a feeling of how he would have been, handling the situation. And the last thing I would have done would be to have brought it up and, exposed him to have to express, the sadness or the loss, But just to be there, just say, "G'day, mate. How you going?" I mean, and blow me down. This guy lives a few doors away from you now, and he's a great guy. He would do anything for you, But yeah, it's just a case of being there, just not in each other's pockets or anything like that, but just monitoring and checking out, just saying g'day and trying to sort of glean from the response, what might be, or how he may be feeling, respectful of that. But he's a strong guy. Mentally, I believe he's a strong guy, and he's doing really well. But like now the group's blown out. Like it's like there's 40 guys,
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
And one guy that I associate fairly regularly with, I mean, he went through a situation, and I mean he was strong enough to come along to a group, and I mean, for the first 6-8 months that I knew him, it's all I ever heard. But it's not a situation where you sit back and you think, based on my experience with the mental health first aid, you don't just sit back and think, oh, not this again, like, let's get over it, The thing is, like I said, people process things differently. Some can say, it's not the old adage, like, big boys don't cry, or, take a spoonful of cement, harden up, this sort of thing. This attitude that's, pretty archaic, it doesn't wash now. The thing is, I wouldn't have cared, in retrospect, I wouldn't have cared if that guy was on and on and on and on, but he's moved on from that now. He's got over the situation, he's put himself in a new situation, he's happy, he's enjoying life. I mean, sure, okay, you can look back on things and go, oh, well, that was an aspect of my life that I don't really want to dwell on. And that's the answer, is not to sort of get yourself into a hole that you can't get out of. And it's not so much you can't get out, but you think you can't get out. And groups like this Men's Walk and Talk, they're the ones that put the ladder down the hole. You get out, right? You discuss it. No one's judging, no one's going to go, oh, But the thing about the whole process relating to this group is it's just a general camaraderie. I mean, we're human beings. We're all different. We sort of relate to each other, chemically, I suppose. Sometimes the two elements form a nice compound, Sometimes it can be
Yeah, like
an adverse
state of
reaction.
origin, state of origin.
Mate, simple things like that. People are passionate about different things, and they think a lot about, how things around them go. No one wants to experience disappointment, but I mean, it's not so much, the effect of the disappointment. It's how you react to it. It's how you say, okay,
That happened.
yeah, it's always next year, or whatever, or okay, I made the mistake, this happened, okay, let's look at it in context, okay, let's not make that mistake again. You learn, you move on. But not only that, you can nurture other people into doing the same thing, people who may not have thought in that way. It's not, I grew up in a Catholic sort of background, and we had nuns who taught us at school when I was in primary, and then of course we went on to secondary, and there was priests, and if you needed to go and talk to somebody about something, then I was in an environment where that could be possible. And whilst there was never any sort of absolutely sort of mountainous sort of situations, that I just sort of went about my life as a kid. I was pretty carefree, I did the things I had to do. I mean, I was a large family, we had responsibilities and chores and stuff like that. We just did what we were told, just accepted what our parents said, that sort of thing. There was no sort of rebellion or anything. And on that basis, things were real for me. It was what it was, And then to come across kids that were, or friends who were suffering some sort of, problem in their life. I lived in towns, little tiny towns, where people didn't have much money, and they used to, I'd go to school with kids and they wouldn't have any lunch, things like that. So from that basic sort of point in my life as a younger person, even just to share meant a lot. And you can then, in your adult life, as you move on, having learnt from those sorts of experiences, I mean, it was like my friend, 8 months I listened to him, it was like the bleeding heart. And it was the same old story. I just gave him sort of like the sandwich, like to sort of give him something to sort of feel good about himself, or to try and sort of, work out, the relative sort of aspects and the positive aspects of what could be, further down the track. Don't just sort of sit around and think about, woe is me now.
Kind of wanted to just circle back to that, because I think one of the hardest things is that not many would know how to ask at a time when they're feeling, struggling with their own situation at the time, to ask for that help, seek that help. Because, it's, and then learning from those lessons. Like for myself, the limiting belief was something that I grew up with, knowing that I used to think that, oh, I'm not smart enough to do anything like this. I did this podcast. I started up a podcast. I didn't get the help of anyone else to help me out, because when I realized that I could actually do it, that's when everything kind of changed for me, and I broke away from that limiting belief, realizing like, oh man, after all this time, I could have done what I wanted when I was talking about some of the other things. But that was me who took it upon myself to discover all those things. And I think that was one of the things we mentioned, like, yeah, we get to a point of when we're talking about how we feel in that. But yeah, how do you ask someone that this is how I'm feeling without actually worrying about what they think of you, but more about what you can take away from maybe some advice?
Yeah. Look, 99.9% of the people, guys particularly, won't. They think it's weakness. They feel like it's a weakness. They're not going to go, no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm feeling bad. And I mean, it's as plain as the nose on your face. You can see, that there's something bothering them. You just got to be that little bit, perceptive. You listen. I mean, I say that now, whereas my friend that, we were work colleagues, took his own life, I didn't know. He just had an absolute, and I keep going back and thinking, were there any signs, And it wasn't until I realised that there was actually a sign. It was a simple thing, it was a funny thing, but he brought in bags of lollies and he was giving everyone, I'd never have seen him do that ever. I worked with him for months and months, And then I think in retrospect, I looked back and I thought, funnily enough, was that an indication that there was something, bothering him, respectful of that. But like I said, he was just that 0.1% that wouldn't say. This guy was, big, strong, 6'4+ guy. He was a giant, and you'd think, oh, nothing can hurt that guy. But it's not the case. I mean, it's not a case of running up to everyone and sort of, taking them by the shoulder and saying, "Are you okay? You got anything you need to sort of It's not a case of that. It's just a case of being observant, considerate, and just associating, yourself with this group. I make it a point of all the new guys that come into the group, they're just going up and, saying g'day, and because it's what it's all about, because I hope and feel that they can sort of glean from my approach to them that I am approachable. And then, we joke and we, take the piss out of each other, have a bit of fun, it's a light-hearted sort of atmosphere. After the walk on a Tuesday night, we stop and at the surf club we have, drinks and that sort of thing. And one thing I've noticed, but that irrespective of the fact that we're all in the same group, they break off into their own group, like the birds of a feather concept,
Yep.
and guys talking. But generally they're not talking about, issues that they may be having. They're just talking about things in general, like things that they have in common or whatever the case may be. But then on the odd occasion, you'll get someone that you don't see for a couple of weeks, I've got one particular friend, and his mental health, as far as I'm concerned, is fine, But he's got problems. He's got arthritis in his feet. So, I mean, every now and then, we're all on Messenger, give him just to
Check in.
just check in, see how things are going,
Nice.
see anything, that's happening that's interesting enough. There are others also that they'll disappear for a while. I mean, there's a few guys, they've lost family, like parents or something like that, and they've really, because
Yeah, the things that are out of your control.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Needs.
but you still need to sort of, just be there. And if they've got something to say, then have the sort of, the patience and consideration to listen.
Like an outlet. Well, not so much an outlet, but
Just that
place
pressure relief valve.
that's it.
You know what it is?
Mm.
It's like people. It was funny the other day. This is probably getting off track a little bit, but we were at the expo down at the community centre the other day, and we had a little table there, and men's walk and talk, and people asking questions, and we walk, this and that, and we do this, and we've been associated with Kokoda, and we did a trip over to the Fraser Island, and we get around, and occasionally we'll go and do something, get on the bus and go and do something interesting, maybe a walk or something in preparation for Kokoda, whatever. But it's always a very cohesive sort of group that gets together, and we go and we'll stop, and it's not about, like we were discussing before, it's not about drinking the alcohol. You can just go and have a ginger beer, you can go and have a soft drink, whatever. It's just sitting, everyone gets together, and it feels, like that sort of all-encompassing sort of camaraderie is there.
Yeah.
And it's nice. But we, funnily enough, had we have guys that come in and they go, oh, well, Shane introduced, they introduced themselves to the group. Well, how did you find out about us? Oh, my wife. my wife sent me, like she said, oh, I'd probably, be good. And realistically, like within a few weeks' time, he's going, oh, so glad I came along. On Thursday mornings we walk at 6 o'clock. We walk up to the pier from the surf club. I mean, not many, some people may be aware of the location and all that sort of thing in Torquay, where we start from. And we have this process now where we get, people will donate, and we all go around to one of the local cafes and have a free coffee.
Nice.
Just to go and invariably there's probably, like 20 guys there. Not everyone goes. Some guys in this group, they still work, they're not fortunate enough to be able to, interact because they've got commitments, they've got families, and they've got all the things. And we understand, or I understand that because I've been there. I've done it. I've known what it's like. I mean, the thing is, you've got to pay your bills, you need to be at the job, and, some of them have got jobs that I consider would be, a fairly high responsibility. But, it was funny because when these guys were saying, oh, their wives sent them, women understand. They see that, because a lot of relationships get to the point where, one member or one party, and most of the time it's the guy, doesn't want to talk about it, won't talk about it. Whereas with the girls, they'll all go and have a coffee, and they're all, interacting and chatting, and they've actually got a women's walk and talk group now that they go about this. And it's a different, to me...
Right, I might have to check that out.
Well, just through different observation, I mean, you go anywhere, right? Particularly, if you're going to sort of like a coffee refreshment or whatever, you'll always see groups of women. I went on Friday last to the there was a musical sort of thing over in Childers. It was a Luke Combs tribute, country singer. And they were line dancing there. And there was only 2 or 3 guys. The rest, they were all women, because that's what women do. They interact, and they talk. So the fact that women recognise the benefit, they recognise the benefit of that, respectful of, their
I've got a bunch of bikies.
The little postie bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, respectful of their mental health, they understand it. So, and guys actually openly say, we come along. It's been great. There's another fellow that goes there, and he said, I've just never experienced like the feeling of, the welcome sort of feeling of being with a group of guys or a group of people at all, really. And it's just so reassuring. And you sort of, I didn't go, like I said, I got invited. I didn't go because I had a problem.
Yeah.
But I certainly found out that it wasn't something that, I wasn't. I was lucky enough, whereas there was other guys there, they were going because they needed to talk. And
I guess it raises more of an awareness for yourself too, to realise like, whoa, okay, I was kind of missing parts of my life that I felt like I could have improved upon. Now, I'm grateful for this group.
The cruelest thing I've ever had someone say to me, and I believe this, and I felt it was cruel, was for someone to say to me, get over it. I used to work in the mining industry. I used to work underground, coal miners. They're a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, they've just...
Well, hopefully I get the opportunity to, get one of the blokes to come and share their experience too, because I think every bloke's experience, and wherever they're from, of all walks of life, different age groups, has something that resonates for another bloke. Exactly like what you said, someone who lost,
Yeah. You can feel it. And the thing is, it's not a case of, like I said, following them around and checking and, but just being there, because what you hope is that they'll be confident enough in your friendship or association to say something, and it's not a case of, for some people, like I said, they think that they're the only ones this has happened to, but all they need to know is that you've experienced the same sort of thing. And it's like, again, we had a friend in the group, and his mature age son got ill and passed away, and it was sad for me, because I knew the fellow, and he was a good guy, He was a really good guy, and easy to talk to, chat and talk about anything really, and this guy, his father and mother, who I know quite well, the sense of loss, and he knew that I'd lost, like a child, and I could relate, and I did, even to the point where sometimes, people will say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I just don't know what to say," you don't say anything. You just be there, just be present, because it's not what you've got to say. It's what you want them to express to you, so that then you can respond accordingly. A friend who's got like a terminal illness. I mean, what do you say to someone in that situation? They're soldiering on. They're being treated, but apparently the prognosis is bad. What do you say? The last thing I always think about it when I see this person, and I do see them on reasonably regular occasions, I just say to myself, Trevor, just remind yourself. Don't ask him,
And if you're finding value in today's show, then please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share with someone you know could possibly benefit from what you've heard today. And so, without further ado, let's get back to it.
It's like, I guess realistically, you don't want to divert from the problem, but you want to be able to distract them from, their thought process. It's extremely difficult to do. It's a psychology that I don't care how well educated you are in respect to that sort of thing or whatever, even in life. It's an extremely difficult thing to do. But groups like the Men's Walk and Talk, the initiative, it's great. It's what needs to sort of happen more and more. And I mean, as you say, there's numerous groups out there. But the thing that sort of buoys me is that since I started, the increase in numbers, and like I said, not everyone goes there for the purpose of being able to sort of tell someone their problems and confide and get a bit of positive sort of outlook from it. It's something to do. It's better than sitting on the lounge, at home. Like lot of the guys are retired. They're not workers. Their time's their own. They can pick and choose what they do. And what they do is they choose to come along and turn up every Tuesday, every Thursday. Come along, mate. It's an hour. I mean, if you're thinking about getting fit, doing the Men's Walk and Talk, forget about it. I don't mean that, in a negative way. It's 5Ks, I mean, I'll get up and walk 18 Ks. I'll get up in the morning and I'll ride 60 Ks on my push bike. But it's not about that. The fitness is the mental fitness. It's what the psychological sort of effect that having an association with a group of people like that means to some people. To me, it's just going along, and I don't have to go every week. I don't have to go. I mean, I pick and choose. It's not compulsory. But if I want to catch up with mates, and real friends are people that you can go for months without seeing them. You see them. It's like, I mean,
Yeah, it's like,
you and I hadn't seen each other for months and months and months, and then boom, you contact me. It's like we saw each other yesterday, and that's the sort of friendship that a group like this offers, and people, they feel that, they draw from it, men particularly, because, and I mean, I don't mean that in a chauvinistic way. I mean, and men are hard done by. The only reason men are hard done by is because generally they'll do it to themselves. They won't have the that internal fortitude to go out and say, yeah, well, I've got a problem, or I just need to talk to get this off my chest. It's like I was saying to you about that relief valve. When things build up and build up and build up to a point where like my friend, you know, they'll do something silly. It's just unnecessary. I mean, we've got a lot to be thankful for.
Absolutely.
Mate, you know?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I know they're the small, simple things that you can do when you wake up, you know. It's a bonus and an honor to wake up to another brand new day and the opportunity to experience what the day entails.
There's a great adage. People you say to people, "Well, how you going? You know, how you going, mate? You know, everything good?" Yeah. Every day above ground's a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's pretty, you know, when you think about it. But the thing is, it's true. You know, because I mean, I've been through situations now. I was informed a couple of months ago that my sister's been diagnosed with MND. My little sister.
What's
And
MND?
motor neurone disease.
Okay. Was that?
Well, it's basically a death sentence. There's no cure. I'm not actually sure in a medical sense or you know, like a physiology or metabolic sense
Yeah.
of what it actually is. But basically, it's the body as a system begins to sort of close down. I spoke to her on the phone. I was shocked. You know, she sounded like she's my little sister, and you know, I have memories of, you know, as children and adults, of course. I mean, my family's never been that close, but close enough. And yeah, I was shocked actually from how far, you know, she deteriorated. And now that was one of the reasons I gave up work. I was heading down. I was going to go to New South Wales and help out where I could. And it was only her that sort of said, "Oh, you know, like it's all at this stage, you know." And I felt guilty because, you know, like over the years, I'd basically been, you know, following the process that I needed to maintain my
Well-being.
yeah, whether it be mental, physical, financial, whatever. And I felt, you know, the old saying, "Oh, you only see your family at, you know, weddings and funerals." I mean, I thought I've been that really sort of is something that sticks in my craw, and it's done so for quite a while. And I mean, even in the past, where I've just thought, I'm just going to go and, you know, I've got a favourite uncle, you know, I'm just going to get him a vehicle and drive out. He's in Tamworth, you know, day's drive away, you know, but I'm going to go and visit him, you know, not going to wait until, you know, there's some family do-on or something like that, which my family is quite substantial when they all get together. There's quite a few of them. So call it Christmas, you know, just a text or whatever. Birthday, that sort of stuff, you know. Don't just sit, you know, like, and sort of think that everything's hunky-dory, you know. You don't have to sort of, like I said, you know, with guys or associates and friends, family, whatever the case may be, you don't have to be in their pocket. You don't always have to be, you know, like my own daughter, you know, she's just had my second grandchild. And, you know, I mean, she's actually a doctor down in Wollongong. And she's off work now because of maternity leave. But the thing is, just once a week, I'm not sort of... She knows where I am, you know. She knows that if she needs to contact me, she can, and I do. I every Sunday, I'll always just, "How you going, guys? Just Dad, just, you know, checking in, seeing how things are going, how the kids are, and that sort of stuff." And I just wished, in respect, getting back to my sister, I didn't know. No one told me. I found out by accident that she was actually like unwell. And this is not just the flu or something.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
something that's not going to, remedy. There's no, there's no remedy for it. And so on that basis, for my own, I mean, I actually said to her, I said, look, I had to be honest. I said, look, I've been very neglectful, like I've been the prodigal,
Son.
or brother at least.
Oh,
And she says, I understand. She's an intelligent girl, and a registered nurse, which is sad because she's helped people all life, But so things like that. We need to keep in touch. I look on, when I go on Messenger, there's always a little green dot next to the person's name, which actually says that they're online.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, good, righto, there.
Have a quick.
Sometimes I don't message. I just go, oh yeah, okay, they're, or otherwise I'll just spontaneously, I'll be going through Facebook and there'll be something funny on there, and I'll send it to them or something like that, because I know it's something that they can associate with, And that's what this is. It's finding out, when you're in a group like this, people coming in, it's not so much interrogation, but you just subtly have a talk and walk, and you're chatting, and all of that sort of stuff, and you're talking about nothing. The next thing, boom, out of the blue, I've got and then from that point, you can then really let them know that, mate, anytime you want to chat, you don't have to say it. You just, through your response, they know. I mean, the thing is, and it's always, there's no tales. You don't tell tales out of school. It's not a case of letting everyone else know what someone else has gone through. Because quite frankly, what people respect and think ultimately is their business. It's no one else's, unless, of course, they then
Open up.
to others as well. So that's something I find you've got to be careful of too. Is just being confident.
Okay,
And
so can you kind of walk us through that process for men who want to get involved, or as you mentioned before, with how some blokes found the place was because my wife mentioned this place, so here I am. So what's the process that kind of happens when they're attending? Like, is there a roll call, or do they just rock up? Well, some guys might just be in the parking lot.
I mean, like yourself, it's difficult, when you come new to a group that you don't know anyone. But the beauty about this is that's the understanding in the group, is that, oh, there's a new face. Everyone's sort of over, It's not, oh, cuddles and hugs and stuff like that. It's letting them know, that they're accepted and they're welcomed, And then, of course, prior to the walk starting, the man ambassador, Shane, he'll introduce them. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What made you come and join us, And generally, they'll just say, oh, it's just this or that. He says, oh, I saw you walking. I saw the big group walking, and I thought, oh gosh, and they may need some, physical exercise, or oh no, my wife thought it'd be a good idea, get me out of the house, so to speak. But if people have got a genuine problem, and I mean this with all respect, that they'll lie. They won't say then and there, oh yeah, my marriage is just broken down. I'm on my own. You know, my kids are gone. You know, I'm so lonely. You know, they won't express that to you. That takes time. You know, that's sort of getting to know somebody. Just doesn't happen just like that. And that's what this is about. It's not that we're trying to, you know, find out everything we can about them, you know, respectful of how they're feeling. But just, like I said, just pressing that relief valve. Give them something to sort of make them feel like they can let that little bit of pressure off, you know.
Without feeling judged.
Yeah, without, exactly right. There's the stigma, you know, the stigma of some of these things, I think realistically is what stops a lot of people from, you know, because people are cruel. Just get over it. Take a spoonful of cement. You know, that's not what that's not what we're about. We joke sometimes in respect to things like that, but I've my only issue is that of when, you know, someone will see a group and they'll use it as a platform for their own benefit, you know. That's not what it's about. It's not about an individual thing. It's not about me, you know, propping myself up and being, you know, like, oh, look at me. It's not about that. It's about the whole concept, like as a unit, you know, moving around, interacting within the unit, and just letting people know if they want to, you know, they're welcome, and we're welcoming and accepting, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, what you've done. You know what I mean? The thing is, I mean, I'm not sure about the extent in respect to that sort of thing, you know, what people have done. I mean, like, you know, I don't know.
No, it's like you said, you know, they're not there to share their whole life
Yeah,
story.
that's right,
They're just there to,
and we're not there to judge, you know, like you
release
said.
the valve
Yeah.
a bit more.
Just, it's usually, you know, just your normal everyday blokes that sort of come along, and you know, sometimes it works out. You know, they might express that they're doing something. Oh, one of the guys, oh, do you want a hand with that? You know, or this, or, you know, we had one young guy who came along and he was a bit sort of down on his luck, you know. So quite a few of us in the group. Do you want to come along and do this? You know, and I'll, you know, it's financially, you know, there was a, you know, bit of help, respectful of that. Even, you know, we had a guy with a business and he paid $500 for the month for the coffees, you know, to buy everyone a coffee. Someone does their 250th walk, they'll bang $250 on the bar, you know, like, because that sort of thing, you know, it's not, what's the word, one-upmanship. There's none of that, you know. And the thing is, quite frankly, I won't participate or subscribe to that sort of thing. This group, it's not about that. It's not about propelling someone above anyone else. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you do, we're all equal. It's as simple as that. And on that basis, sharing and caring is really the catch cry, the whole thing, as well as having a great time, you know. Things, it makes life enjoyable. And like I said, you know, I don't have to go every week, but there are guys that really appreciate, you know, the being able to, and knowing that, you know, they get there and it's like a bit of fresh air. Yeah.
What do you see have been beneficial throughout these walks with the guys that rock up to it? can you kind of see, have you noticed the differences of the new members who attended, say,
Oh,
6 months ago
yeah,
to
yeah.
where they are today?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, a case in point is this mate of mine, you know. He went through a bad domestic sort of situation. He's it was non-stop. That's all I heard, you know. you know, you don't you don't even, you know, it was just a case of listening,
Mm.
adding positive things and that sort of stuff. He's since got himself in a new. He's like a different person now. Just cruising along, and he he's appreciative of the fact that it's been really helpful for him, and the result is heartening. You know, like to see it, to actually see it. You know, I'm personally like a bit of an island. You know, I have issues. You know, I'll discuss things that I feel I have a right to. And you understand, you know what I mean?
Well, no, what do you mean?
Well, I'm not going to discuss someone else's
Oh,
with
yep.
with a third party. You know, I've let everyone know what the situation is. Like for example, say with my sister, but it's not detrimental in any other respect other than to know that this is how I'm feeling. You know, this is the news I've got. This is how it's affected me. You know, like I said, you know, I'm feeling a bit of guilt. I'm feeling a lot of sadness, you know, because I know that, you know, what the outcome or potential outcome is. But, you know, the thing is, I accept the fact, and I'm also thankful that I can express that to someone, or even just a group. You know, if they wanting, you know, I'm saying I'm not going to be here for the next 6 weeks or something like that, you know, because X, Y, Z. A lot of guys would go, well, as long as you're okay and everything's all right. It's not the reason, you know, that you're doing it. It's just that we're thinking that, you know, we just want to make sure that you're okay with it, you know. And my attitude towards it is it's just a responsibility now, you know, for me to do it. But apart from the gory detail, it's really no one else's business. But that's me. Whereas other people are prepared, they will divulge every intricate part, and that's the part that you've got to be so prepared for, because they're actually telling you stuff that, you know, if you were in the same situation, you probably wouldn't want, you know, like to divulge too much to someone else. But some individuals feel differently. So that's another part of the whole thing, is being able to sort of take on board all this stuff without it affecting you too. You hear you
So
quite
how
often.
does one actually, or are able to do that then? Was it through the mental health first aid that kind of helped, or?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, without doubt. But you know, I mean, I've always been fortunate enough to be a thinker in respect to a lot of things, and whilst I don't dwell on stuff, I'm pretty analytic. You know, I analyse it, and I see, even for the fact that someone's divulged, you know, to you something very personal, right, is a positive. Because it's like I said, I keep bringing up this thing about the relief valve. You know, I know what happens when the pressure builds to a point. and it blows, on a, just a mechanical level, things, they it can be pretty catastrophic, So on a personal human basis, it's the same thing. While we don't, build up and then blow to smithereens, things can still break, psychologically, physically, and we all know that, when I stopped work, I was training for the Kokoda. We were doing like the 48k walk, and I was walking a lot, and I had a goal, I had a commitment. When the Kokoda was over, I didn't want to do anything. And even you've discussed with me that process you went through on the basis of 4:30 every morning, get up, rain, hail, shine, do this, it's a motivation, self-motivation, that sort of stuff. That's one thing that I've found has been really good where the men's walk and talk is, because after Kokoda, I didn't have to train for Kokoda. I mean, I still had the cycling, but I didn't even want to do it. I wasn't working. I mean, financially, everything's fine. Stay in bed half an hour longer one day. Next day, 3/4 of an hour. Next thing you know, you're walking around at lunchtime in your pyjamas. And that was what jolted me. It was like when I gave up smoking. I used to smoke. Anyway, it was usually just like, you did at school down behind the squash ball courts and that sort of thing, smoking. And then I started to smoke, all my friends smoking and all this sort of thing. And then one day, something happened. I had a cigarette, and I remember I took a big drag on this, and really breathed it into my lungs. And all of a sudden, it was like a switch went off, and I thought, "Oh my God, I'm actually addicted to this." And from that day on, I stopped. Never, ever to do it again. And that's what happens. We get lulled into this false sense of security, and for some of us, it's not a sense of security. It's just a dark place, And unfortunately, after a while, for some people, it becomes comfortable, but it's so detrimental. It's physically detrimental. It's psychologically detrimental. In a lot of issues and cases, it's could relate to a relationship problem or whatever the case may be. Just being able to come and have something like this group to sort of motivate you, to buoy you, to give you purpose. And whether that purpose is for you on the basis of, okay, I'm walking 5Ks on Tuesdays, I'm walking 6Ks on Thursday, it's exercise, it's something I've never done before, which is not necessarily my case, but that could be one aspect. It gives you purpose. You get out, you go, you're motivated. But it's that, I don't know whether you've ever, there's been many mornings with cycling where I've sort of woken up and gone, I don't want to go today. And then you've gone. You've just gutsed it out and you've gone. And when you got back, you think, thank heavens I did that,
Yeah.
That's what this is like. That's what the men's walk and talk is like. People go there, and that's that sort of feeling that they get. It's like an endorphin. They say with runners and exercises, there's actually an internal chemical that gets them off on the basis of it makes them feel good. And
Dopamine hit.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, who knows? I think they're called endorphins, but
Okay.
I'm not quite
Me
sure
too.
about. Yeah,
Sounds good.
but hey, you went through it, forcing yourself, and I bet you when you'd done it, you felt
Yeah,
You
I
know,
don't have
really
to do this
good.
anymore too. I did a similar thing too,
But-
but I had to get back on the, get back on the horse. Yeah, have your
Yeah.
little
Yeah. Moment.
of just like, man, I need a break,
Yeah.
and then right now you've had your break. If it's 1 day or 2 days, that's it. Let's get back into it again. Before we kind of wind up,
Mm.
for someone that's listening to this right now,
Mm.
what's your message for them if they're home alone or they know someone who they could help out and suggest something they've seen today? What would be your message for them to either relay that information or for themselves to analyze and then take that next or even that first step towards doing something?
Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. You know, the sky's not going to fall in on you. You know, the sun's still going to come up tomorrow. Don't be afraid. Go out and do it. Do it while you can, because there may become a time when you can't. And I don't mean that on a personal basis. I mean in respect to the approach. And I found that with my mate that took his own life is I didn't think about it enough. I didn't think about it enough on the basis of I knew he was going through struggles. He used to discuss things with me relative to it was all, child support stuff. It was I could see he was struggling, and I didn't think anything of it. I'd been there, I'd done that, and I just thought, well, it's not forever, and all that sort of thing. But I could have, but now I can't. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to go out, even on a personal basis. Going and doing something in a group like this, or exposing yourself. Remember we were talking about comfort, getting out of your comfort zone, mate. Jump in, jump off the edge, boom, into the deep water, swim. I mean, the thing is, it's not going to, people come along and, they sort of, no one's going to bite them, no one's going to, accost them or, no one's, it's all, everything's friendly out there. I mean, of course there are things that you might undertake that the reaction may be a little adverse. That's all right. People move the goalposts. The thing is, the path, it goes uphill. For every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. The thing is, at least try, have the courage, just get rid of that personal fear, to do the things. I mean, no one's going to go and put themselves in a situation that's going to, be damaging. Why would you do that? I mean, it's like stepping out in front of a car. No one's going to do that. But take the first step. Open the door. Take that first step. Open your mind. Take that first step. Just know that ultimately there's a path you can take that'll lead you to something that's really positive, that's beneficial, and like I said, the world won't end, because, you do it. You may just find that it's going to be the best thing you ever did. It's like dragging yourself out of bed at 4:30 in the morning to go cycling, but gee, when you get back you feel, you float, and it's great. It's just the best feeling. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, look, Trev. Before we kind of wrap up, so it's something I took away from another podcast, Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. So, which is he has questions that are always written up by each guest, and then they get the opportunity to. He gets the opportunity to ask these questions left by the guest, to ask the guest that he's interviewing on the day. and then they get to do the same thing, write up a question for the next guest. So my guest left me this question. So the question is, if there is one thing you would tell your younger self, what would it be? If there is one thing you would tell your younger self, what would it be?
Don't worry about things, because the more you worry about something, the less likely it is to happen. Just go with the flow. Live life. Do the right thing, by yourself, by other people. There is no issue. That's something I always thought about when I was young. Just believe in yourself and go with the flow. Don't worry. The more you worry, you're the only person that's hurting. And the more you worry, the less likely it is to happen. So that's just my simple analogy on that. An answer.
Cool. So before we finally wrap up, how can people get involved with the Men's Walk and Talk group, and where could they find them?
Well, they've got a Facebook site.
Yep.
It's located in Hervey Bay, in Torquay, at the Surf Lifesaving Club. Tuesdays at 5:15, we walk west.
Yep.
It's about 5 k's. It's not a biggie. You walk at your own pace. Generally, you're walking with someone, and it's in the afternoon. So therefore, when we get back, as Shane calls it, we can have a bevy, like at the surf club, and all have a chat and a quick beer before we head off home for tea. Thursday mornings, 6 o'clock. And 6 o'clock is the time allocated because there are people who work. It's a 6 kilometre walk. It's 3 kilometres to the pier. We stop, we take a photo, turn around, we walk back. Anyone who wants to, go around to the Avenue Cafe, where Darren and Kylie have coffees, and the coffee's free. We usually take the order before the walk starts so that Darren can ring it through and have it all ready by the time, whoever wants to indulge arrives. And then, you can have a meal there, you can have breakfast, we all usually sit round and talk and all that sort of thing. I mean, there are guys, like I said, who work that don't participate in that part, but that's the evening. Tuesdays is something that they can. Quite often, personally, I'll go and start at the pier at 5:30, walk to the surf club, do the walk with the guys, and then walk back. It becomes a 12k walk. But that's just me. That's what I do for my fitness, to maintain, for next year's Kokoda. So, Hervey Bay Surf Lifesaving Club, Torquay on the Esplanade. I'm just trying to think which street. Fraser Street. It's next on the left after Fraser Street. Just a little bit further down from Fraser Street, next to the caravan park and the Scout Hall. It's easy to find. Facebook is another, like I said, another avenue you can pursue to actually get some information. There'll always someone will respond to you. So 5:15 on Tuesdays afternoon. Thursday morning, 6 o'clock.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. in the morning, yep. And then from there, like I said, on Tuesdays they stop and have a beer if you want, otherwise whatever. And then on Thursdays really nice. I mean, it's nice to go and just sort of finish the whole thing off with a coffee and you can have a croissant if you like, whatever you like, But it's all the same sort of thing. We all just sit and talk, and that sort of I mean, like I said before, the group does sort of sometimes splinter off into sort of like guys will find someone, you know what I mean? I mean that in a, like in a, in the real sense of the word, but they do.
Mm.
And that's what it's all about. So, and anyone is welcome.
Cool. I'll also add those details in the description where everyone wants to check it out and find you guys. Thanks for taking the time to join me today. I appreciate you rocking up on a last minute notice, but appreciate everything you've shared and some of the takeaways. Maintaining that connection. When you spoke about how sometimes you don't always seem to be able to keep in contact, but when you do, it's always meaningful. And sometimes we are guilty for not maintaining that consistency, even if it is just once a week. That's still more than enough to keep in contact with each other. So appreciate you kind of just breaking down some of the things that have happened, what it's been like, and also where other men can kind of find this place to take away from what they've heard today in something that is hopeful for them to, create new friendships and relationships, and also help them either mentally or physically and connection wise in relationship. So Trevor, mate,
Thanks, mate.
thanks for joining me at the round table.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great.